Welcome back. This is another exciting episode of Mr. Takeda Teaches Algebra. I'm your host, Mr. Takeda, and I'm going to teach you some algebra right now. This is lesson 9.2 on solving quadratic equations by graphing. We've already done a lot of this, so this should be a pretty quick lesson for us. Let's take a look. Our core concept. We're going to write the equation in standard form. Standard form. We're going to graph the related function, so we're going to turn it into a y, so we're going to graph it. And this is it. We're going to find the x-intercepts. So I'm going to do all this using the Desmos graphing calculator because if I graph manually, well, if I'm doing it manually, I can find the x-intercepts manually. So this is basically how to use a graphing calculator to find the solutions of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. A vocabulary word here, roots. Roots. Here's my lips. Roots equals x-intercepts. So we talk about x-intercepts when we're talking about the graph. We use roots when we talk about the equation. And I think we use the word zeros when we're talking about the function. Okay, all meaning the same thing. Solve x squared plus 2x equals 3 by graphing. Well, we're going to put this in standard form first. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and we want one side to equal 0 because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the x-intercepts. X-intercepts are the value of y when, the value of x when y equals 0. The x-intercepts are the value of x when y equals 0. So let me see if I can display both these things here at the same time. So x squared plus 2x minus 3. And that can be equals y or when y equals 0. Okay, so let me put this in projector mode so we can see it a little bit easier. And these are our y-intercepts right here. At -3 and 1. Those are my solutions. So x will equal -3 and 1. And you can write it with a comma in between. Don't put parentheses around it, though, because that would make it an ordered pair. And it's not. We have a comma here because we're listing the items. Or you can be safe and do it this way. Okay. Let's take a look at x squared minus 8x equals -16. I'm going to add 16 to both sides. And then I'm going to graph this. So x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals y. You don't really need the equals y. Here we go. Now in this case, I've only got a single solution, 4. The vertex is on the x-axis, so only have a single solution. So x equals 4. Now I've said this before in class, and hopefully some of you remember it now, but that's because this is a trinomial square, right? So if I was to do this if I was to solve this by factoring, like we did some using the zero products property, I'd have x minus 4 squared, right, equals 0. So x equals 4. But I have 2x. I technically have two solutions. They just happen to both be the same here. X equals 4. Okay, let's take a look at one more example. Negative x squared equals 2x plus 4. So I'm going to add x squared to both sides. And we'll do this by graphing. So x squared plus 2x plus 4. And you can see where the parabola is related to the x-axis here. The parabola never hits the x-axis. That's because this is no solution. So this one, we would say no solution. So we've seen in our examples so far 2 solutions, 1 solution, trinomial squares, and no solutions. For this cubic function, it says the graph of x minus 3 times the quantity x squared minus x minus 2 is shown. Find the zeros of f. Well, what do I have here? I've got -1. I've got 2 and 3. So x equals -1, comma 2, comma 3. You can see the 3 in this one, obviously. So let's just check our answer here. 3 minus 3 is 0. And if I was to factor this guy, this trinomial here, x squared minus x minus 2, I have x and x. I have a pair of numbers that multiplied equal -2, but add to equal -1. Well, -2 plus 1. So you can see here that this would be x equals 2, and this is x equals -1. So just by looking at the graph, though, but we're trying to do this by graphing. So they give us the graph of a cubic, and those x-intercepts are the solutions to the equation. The zeros. I mean, they're the zeros. There's the solution when y equals 0. Okay. That's it. So remember, when we're solving quadratic equations, Luke, use the force. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in class next time. Bye-bye.